Today's tech news moves fast, but understanding it shouldn't be hard. That's why Snarful Solutions Group brings you Connecting the Dots, where we break down what's happening in tech and why it matters to you. Now, let's dive in with your hosts.
What if the multi-trillion-dollar cloud computing industry is, about to be completely dismantled by this little silver box sitting right there on your kitchen counter? Welcome to Connecting the Dots. I'm Alex.
And I'm Morgan.
And we are joining you from Snarful Solutions Group in Sacramento, California.
Yes, we are.
It is Tuesday, August 25th, 2026. And, before we really look closer at this massive shift in the tech world today, let's just get right into your morning briefing.
Sounds good.
So if you are stepping out here in Sacramento today, expect it to be mostly sunny. We're looking at a high of about 94 degrees Fahrenheit. So, it's going to be a hot one.
Definitely stay hydrated out there.
For sure. It's accompanied by a fairly light breeze, though.
Yeah.
Wind is sitting at about, I'd say, 3 to 8 miles per hour. But if we kind of pull back and look at the national picture, things are significantly more turbulent right now.
Yeah, they really are.
Currently, we are seeing 181 active U.S. weather alerts, and 97 of those are actually overland.
Oh, wow. 96.
Overland. So wherever you are listening from this morning, please make sure to check weather.gov for the specific details in your local area. You don't want to get caught in any of that.
No, definitely not. Well, moving over to the financial markets, it was actually a fairly quiet close yesterday. The Dow Jones dipped slightly, down just about a 0.25%. To close at 53,466.05.
Okay, so barely moved.
Right. And the S&P 500 largely mirrored that movement, just inching down 0.07% to settle at 7,671.65. So pretty stable across the board for the traditional markets.
But, the real momentum right now is in crypto, right?
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Bitcoin is having just a really fascinating week. So it was up fractionally yesterday, about 0.06%, putting it at 79,030.29.
Which doesn't sound like a lot.
No, right, for one day. But if you zoom out just a few days, it's actually up over 8% since last Friday alone.
Wow.
Yeah, it's definitely on a tear, showing some major resilience in the market right now.
8% in a weekend is wild. Mm-hmm. Definitely a space to keep an eye on. And for our sports fans, just a quick baseball update from yesterday's action. The SF Giants absolutely dominated the Cincinnati Reds.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, shutting them out 5-2. Jason Foley was the winning pitcher on that one, and he was just commanding the mound beautifully.
Yeah, he looked great out there.
He really did.
And, well, in a much higher scoring affair, the Athletics lost a pretty tough game to the Minnesota Twins, 6-9.
Tough break.
Yeah, with Zebby Matthews taking the win on the mound for the Twins.
Right. Well, taking a pivot from the baseball diamond over to the tech world, we have a really fascinating narrative today regarding the future of where our data actually lives. So let's unpack this top tech news. But before we dive into Apple's latest silicon announcements, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by Strong Coffee, the premium instant coffee that tastes like a traditional brew, but is packed with 15 grams of protein, MCTs, and adaptogens like ashwagandha. Get clean, sustained energy without the jitters. Use promo code SNARFL for 20% off at strongcoffeecompany.com.
So when we talk about desktop computers historically, there has always been a very specific expectation, right? It's a box.
Right.
It sits on a desk. And it connects to the internet so you can access all the heavy lifting servers out in the world.
Exactly. For the last 10 to 15 years, the trend has been to make the local computer as thin and light as possible while sending all the actual processing power to these remote server farms. Everything from your photo storage to running AI chatbots, it all happens in the cloud.
Totally.
But based on yesterday's announcements, it looks like Apple is just aggressively trying to pull that pendulum back in the other direction. So let's look closer at their new silicon announcements. And I want to start with the most accessible machine in their lineup, the brand new Mac Mini.
Yeah, the Mac Mini has always been that, entry-level stepping stone.
Mm-hmm.
But this new iteration completely rewrites what an entry-level machine is even capable of. So they're debuting the brand new M6 chip. And the base model starts at $899.
Okay, $899.
Which gets you that M6 processor, 256 gigabytes of storage, and 16 gigabytes of RAM right out of the gate.
Nice. And if you want to bump it up, there is an M5 Pro version that starts at $1,699, with both of those models actually starting to ship on September 22nd. But I want to pause on the M6 chip itself.
Sure.
Because the architectural leap here is is what's truly driving this shift away from the cloud. The specs say it features a 12-core CPU and a 12-core GPU, which is up from the 10-core setup in the older M4. Plus, we're seeing, Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 6.
Pretty standard for a spec bump, yeah.
Right, but the phrase that kept coming up over and over in the source material is that it's built on a 2-nanometer process. What does that actually mean under the hood? I mean, I like to think of it kind of like packing a massive V8 engine into a tiny compact car. It's getting smaller, but somehow wildly more efficient and powerful.
That is a great analogy, because 2 nanometers sounds like this abstract marketing jargon, right? But it's actually entirely rooted in physics. So think of a computer chip like a massive sprawling city.
Okay.
Historically, the businesses, the homes, the factories, which are the transistors in this analogy, they were spread out.
Right.
And that meant the electrons had to commute long distances across the chip just to get anything done.
And in computing, a long commute generates friction, and friction creates heat.
Exactly. Heat is the ultimate enemy of performance. If a chip gets too hot, the computer just has to artificially slow it down to prevent the whole thing from literally melting. So by moving to a 2-nanometer process, Apple is essentially shrinking the layout of that entire city. They are moving all those microscopic transistors incredibly close together.
Okay, so the electrons have practically zero distance to travel.
Right. Nobody has to commute.
Oh, that makes sense.
And because that distance is so ridiculously short, almost no energy is wasted as heat. So the chip doesn't just run faster, it runs incredibly cool and uses significantly less power. That is how you can pack a massive 12-core processing unit into this tiny, silent silver box on your desk without the fan screaming or the thing overheating.
Okay, I get the physics of it now, but here is where I kind of want to push back a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
Apple is stating this M6 chip boasts up to 4 times faster AI performance than the previous generation. 4x is a huge jump.
It's massive, yeah.
But for a normal family, right, a family that is just running Microsoft Excel to manage their budget or just browsing Safari for recipes, why on earth do they need a 4x leap in AI processing? Like, is this just overkill to sell a fancy new machine?
Well, if you only look at the computer as a faster web browser, then yes, it's total overkill.
Right.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture of where all software is currently heading, it's about a fundamental shift toward what the tech industry is calling agentic computing.
Agentic computing. Okay, let's unpack that term. How does agentic computing differ from the AI we're already used to?
So, until now, AI has mostly been a chatbot. You go to a website, you type a prompt into a text box, and you sit there and wait for a server hundreds of miles away to generate an answer.
Right, it's very transactional.
Exactly, it's completely reactive. Agentic computing means the computer has AI models or agents running silently in the background all the time, proactively doing complex multi-step tasks for you without you having to prompt it every step of the way.
So instead of me specifically asking it a question, it's actively working on my behalf, like an assistant that's actually anticipating what I need.
Precisely. And because of this incredibly efficient new M6 chip, the Mac Mini is becoming really popular among tech enthusiasts for running these local AI agents natively. There is an open source model called OpenClaw, for example, that you can run entirely on the device.
Ah, I see. So instead of taking your family's personal, highly sensitive data like your banking emails or private photos of your kids and sending all of that up to some massive cloud server to be analyzed, this Mac Mini is strong enough to process all of that locally on the desk.
That is the crucial takeaway right there. It suddenly brings massive, totally private AI capabilities right into the home. It can index your family photos, it can organize your finances, or summarize long chains of emails natively without a single byte of your data ever leaving your home Wi-Fi network.
Wow.
So that 4x AI leap isn't about loading web pages faster. It's about giving you a private intelligence that lives securely in that little silver box.
That is a massive paradigm shift, but I guess it begs the question, if the Mac Mini is this compact daily driver for the home, what happens when you need industry-level, just uncompromised horsepower? Because they certainly didn't stop at the Mini today.
No, they did not.
They also announced the newly updated Mac Studio.
Yes, and this is where the hardware capabilities get truly staggering. The Mac Studio is aimed squarely at the highest end of professional workflows, so it starts at $2,499 for a machine equipped with the M5 Max chip. And that comes with 36 gigabytes of unified memory and 512 gigabytes of storage.
Which is already a beast. But then there's the M5 Ultra model.
Right, the M5 Ultra. That one starts at $5,499, which is actually a $200 bump from the previous generation. But for that premium, you were getting a machine that could be configured with up to 512 gigabytes of unified memory.
Wait. Let's pause right there.
Yeah.
512 gigabytes of unified RAM in a desktop computer.
It's insane.
My current laptop has 8 gigabytes of RAM, and honestly, it handles everything I throw at it perfectly fine. Why on earth would any desktop ever need 512 gigabytes of memory?
Well, for traditional computing, it absolutely doesn't. But we have to look at how artificial intelligence actually operates at a professional scale. When developers or data scientists want to run a large language model, an LLM, they have to load the entire brain of that AI into the computer's short-term memory, or RAM, all at once.
Oh, so the intelligence of the AI is directly bottlenecked by how much memory the computer has? If the brain is bigger than the RAM, it won't work.
Exactly. If an AI model is too big, it simply won't fit into your RAM and the computer just crashes. It won't even start. So by offering 512 gigabytes of unified memory, professionals can now run massive, frontier-class LLMs entirely on their devices. We're talking about AI models that previously required literally millions of dollars in cloud server infrastructure just to boot up.
And that solves a colossal problem for enterprise businesses, because the privacy implications here are enormous.
Huge.
If you are a hospital dealing with patient records or a high-end law firm analyzing confidential client contracts, you simply cannot legally or ethically upload that sensitive data to a public AI cloud.
No, absolutely not.
With this new Mac Studio, the data never has to leave the desk.
It completely eliminates those corporate privacy hurdles.
Yeah.
And it also eliminates the incredibly costly cloud computing fees. And you buy the machine once, and you run your massive AI models 24/7 without paying per token or per minute of server time. Plus, Apple has introduced Thunderbolt 5 to these machines, which includes this brilliant clustering feature.
Okay, I found this part of the report so fascinating. To me, it's essentially like assembling Voltron.
Oh, I love that.
Right. You take individual Mac Studios, you link them together using these insanely fast Thunderbolt 5 cables, and they share their memory pools to create one massive supercomputer. You're literally combining the robotic lions into one giant, unstoppable robot.
That is a really fun way to look at it. But technically, this is powered by something called RDMA, or Remote Direct Memory Access.
Okay, let's unpack RDMA. Keep it simple for me, though.
Right. In simple terms, it is a hardware protocol that allows one computer to reach directly into the brain or the memory of another connected computer instantly. It completely bypasses the operating system, so there's no software asking for permission and slowing things down. It just grabs what it needs. So if one Mac Studio with 512 gigs of RAM isn't enough for the massive AI model you want to run,
You just cable 4 of them together.
exactly. Suddenly, you have over 2 terabytes of shared ultra-fast memory processing your data as a single unified entity.
Which is mind-blowing. And it circles right back to the theme we started with. We have spent well over a decade moving absolutely everything to the cloud. Our documents, our high-end processing, all our enterprise software, it's all running in remote server farms. Are we really witnessing a massive U-turn back to local computing?
We absolutely are, specifically for these high-end compute-heavy tasks.
Yeah.
Because the cloud is amazing for convenience, right? Syncing your data across your phone and your laptop. But for heavy compute, it introduces a major bottleneck, which is latency.
Just the time it takes for data to travel.
Exactly. Latency is the time it takes for your data to travel from your computer to a server in Virginia, be processed, and travel all the way back. By giving professionals the power of a server farm locally on their desk, you eliminate the latency entirely, and you permanently cap the financial cost.
It's an incredible paradigm shift. We've seen the physical machines, and we've explored the raw hardware specs. But let's look closer at how Apple is actually bringing all this silicon to life under the hood. Specifically, I want to talk about this M5 Ultra chip and the software, because raw metal is totally useless without the right architecture.
Oh, absolutely. The hardware is only half the story.
Yeah.
If we look at the M5 Ultra chip itself, the way they achieve this level of performance is through a specialized technology they call ultrafusion.
Right, and how does it actually work? Because from what I read, they are quite literally taking 2 separate M5 Max chips and stitching them together to create a massive quad-E processor.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
But physically bridging 2 computer chips without losing speed has historically been like one of the hardest physics problems in computing.
It is incredibly difficult. Normally, if you connect 2 separate chips on a motherboard, the data traffic jam between them slows everything down to a crawl. But ultrafusion uses a microscopic silicon interposer, which is essentially a high-density bridge that connects the chip so perfectly with so many tiny pathways that the software literally cannot tell it looking at two separate pieces of silicon.
Oh, wow. So the computer just treats it as one giant brain.
Exactly.
And the result of that flawless connection is a mind-bending 1.2 terabytes per second of memory bandwidth. To put that in perspective, you could transfer entire hard drives worth of data instantly across the memory.
In a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
And to control all of this unprecedented local power, both the new Mac Mini and the Mac Studio are launching with a brand new operating system.
Right.
macOS 27, codenamed Golden Gate.
Golden Gate. And it seems like Golden Gate is completely built around the deep native integration of Siri AI. And to be clear, this isn't the Siri we've been using for the last 10 years just to set kitchen timers or ask about the weather.
Not at all. Siri AI is an entirely new architecture that possesses deep personal context. Because all that processing power is local, like we talked about, it can constantly index and search across your private emails, your text messages, your calendar, and your photos to connect the dots of your life securely.
Without sending it to the cloud.
Right.
They also highlighted a feature called visual intelligence. How does that practically work for the end user?
Well, visual intelligence is essentially giving the AI eyes.
Okay.
Using a simple keyboard shortcut, you can ask Siri AI about whatever is currently visible on your screen. Say you have a massive, complicated spreadsheet open or a complex architectural diagram.
Okay. Or maybe even just a recipe you found online.
Sure, exactly. You hit the shortcut, and the local AI analyzes the screen's contents, summarizes the data, or acts on it like drafting an email to your team based on the spreadsheet numbers you're looking at right that second.
That is so wild. And they've updated the overall look and feel of the OS too with something they are calling liquid glass, which adds uniform toolbars and edge-to-edge sidebars, just making the whole OS feel highly responsive.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous.
It really does. I also think it's worth briefly highlighting the environmental angle Apple included in the report today.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, the new Mac Mini is made of 50% recycled material overall, and the Mac Studio sits at 35%, but is built with 100% recycled aluminum enclosures.
Which is a significant step toward their stated corporate goal of being completely carbon neutral across their entire manufacturing footprint by 2030. They are even matching the electricity customers use to power the Mac Mini with direct investments in renewable energy.
That's great. But I want to pull us back to macOS 27 and Siri AI for a second, because this is where I start to wonder about the philosophical implications of all this.
Okay, let's hear it.
With Siri AI now able to actively read our screens, write emails for us, edit our documents, and draw on our deeply personal context, at what point does the operating system cross the line from being a tool we use to an active agent that practically does our jobs for us?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that is arguably the defining philosophical question of this new era of computing.
Right, because a tool, by definition, requires a human to swing the hammer. But an agentic AI, which is what macOS 27 and these new M-series chips are leaning heavily into, swings the hammer for you while you just point at the nail.
Or honestly, maybe the AI just decides which nail needs hitting based on analyzing your calendar and your pending emails.
Exactly.
And on one hand, that can be incredibly liberating. It frees us up from the mundane, repetitive tasks, the endless digital paperwork of our modern lives. But it fundamentally challenges our relationship with our computers.
It really does. We have to trust that the AI understands our human intent perfectly.
Right.
And we have to be comfortable with a machine having that level of intimate, unregulated access to our digital lives.
Which brings us full circle right back to why running these models locally on your own hardware rather than in the cloud is so appealing. The trust factor is infinitely higher when the brain doing the thinking is a silver box sitting right there on your physical desk, entirely disconnected from the broader internet if you choose.
Precisely. It creates a closed loop of privacy. You get the intelligence of the cloud, but with the security of a vault.
Before we wrap up today's analysis, a quick thanks to Old Glory, an iconic music and sports fan merch store, perfect for the techie in your life. Use promo code SNARFUL for 15% off at oldglory.com. So just to quickly recap the rather expansive journey we've been on today with this massive tech report. We started by looking at the incredible everyday accessibility of the new Mac Mini. By utilizing that hyper-efficient 2nm M6 chip, Apple is proving that true private AI power is finally making its way directly into the family home for under $1,000. Then we scaled all the way up to the professional, boundary-pushing Mac Studio with the M5 Ultra. We explored how creatives, hospitals, and enterprise businesses can finally break free from the expensive, latency-heavy cloud by using Thunderbolt 5 clustering and massive local memory pools to run LLMs right on their desks.
And finally, we saw how macOS 27 Golden Gate is weaving all this raw hardware together, turning our computers from passive tools into active, intelligent agents with Siri AI and visual intelligence.
It really is a massive leap forward across the entire spectrum of how we interact with machines.
It truly is. And it leaves me with this final thought for everyone listening to chew on as you go about your day.
Yeah.
If desktop computers, machines we can just buy and put in our homes and offices can now run these incredibly powerful frontier-class open-weight AI models completely locally and entirely privately, how will this disrupt the multi-trillion-dollar cloud computing industry?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Are we witnessing the great decentralization of artificial intelligence, moving it straight out of massive corporate server farms and directly into the hands of the consumer? It's a fascinating shift in the balance of technological power. We're here to help at Snarful, so reach out on our website if you have any more questions.
That's a wrap on today's top stories. Remember, tech doesn't have to be complicated, and we're here to help connect the dots. If you've got questions or want to learn more, visit us at snarful.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.